0347, a Sentinel Universe short story by Brian Bullock, a Starborne Studios production. "You want coffee?" Ramirez said. "I'm going up." He stood up out of the chair 2 seats down and stretched both arms over his head until something in his back popped. He was 3 weeks in. He still looked at the clock on the wall like it was going to tell him something worth knowing. "I'm good," Rachel said. She didn't look over. She had her eyes on the board and one boot hooked up under the lip of the console, and she was rocking the chair a couple inches back and forth on that boot. "You're always good." "Somebody's got to be," she said, and kept her eyes on the board. He picked his badge up off the desk and turned to go, and that was when she caught it. It came in on the far left edge of her screen, way out in the corner, down in the part of the board that catches junk all night long. Radar picks up more than airplanes. It picks up flocks of birds and rain coming over the mountains, and the ground itself bouncing the signal back, and all that garbage piles up along the edges as little flickers that mean nothing. The computer is built to look at those flickers, decide they're trash, and wipe them off the screen before a person ever has to deal with them. It wipes hundreds of them a night. This one had been already wiped. There was just the little gray note it leaves behind, the one that says the software looked at a return, decided it was nothing, and cleared it. Rachel put 2 fingers on the pad and dragged it back before it could scroll off and be gone for good. "Ramirez, hold up on the coffee a second." He came back and leaned next to her chair with one hand on the top of it and looked where she was pointing. "That's already cleared," he said. "The filter tagged it as scatter. That's a bird, or a bounce off the ridge, or nothing." "Look at the speed of it," Rachel said. She tapped the bottom corner of the screen, where a small gray number sat next to the wiped track. "That number right there. That's how fast it was moving before the computer threw it out. Read it out loud." He read it. He read it again, to himself this time, and then a third time, slower, moving his lips over the figure. Then he stopped and stood up straight. "That's Mach 47, Rachel said. "You know what that means. Mach 1 is the speed of sound. Fast jet, real fast, on a good day. Does maybe Mach 2, Mach 3, and the pilot's getting crushed into his seat the whole time. This is 47 times the speed of sound. There is nothing on this planet that flies that fast. Not ours, not the Russians, not the Chinese, not anybody. A rock falling in from space comes in around that fast, but a rock falls in a straight line and burns up. Watch what this one does." She ran it back a few seconds and let it play. The little mark came in fast off the top of the screen, and then it turned. It cut a hard corner and held a new line, dead straight, for a second, and then it was gone. "A rock can't turn," Rachel said. "A rock doesn't pick a heading and hold it. That thing came in at 47 times the speed of sound, made a turn that would tear the wings off anything we've ever built, straightened out, and left. In under 2 seconds. And the computer looked at all of that and called it a bird." Ramirez didn't say anything. He was still bent over next to her, looking at the empty spot on the screen where the mark had been. Rachel had seen it before. Not this exact one. Others like it, over the 11 years she'd sat in this chair. One would come in too fast to be anything, hold a line nothing should be able to hold, and be gone before the room caught it. She'd stopped writing all of them down a long time ago. You learn quickly down here which flags get answered and which ones make a flag disappear off your screen, and a supervisor comes stand behind you and ask if you're feeling all right. She kept her own count now in her head, and never on paper. It was the one thing left in this place she still didn't have the answer to. She started typing it up, Both hands were moving now, pulling the wiped track into a window where the computer couldn't reach back in and clear it again. "What are you doing?" Ramirez said. "Flagging it. Writing it up and sending it up the chain, the way you're supposed to." She kept typing. "Watch what happens to it." "What do you mean, watch what happens to it?" "You'll see," Rachel said. The flag was gone by her next shift. She pulled the log first thing, before coffee. The track she had written up and sent up the chain was not in the queue, not in the archive, not in the cleared file where the night's junk went to sit. Even the little note the software leaves when it clears a track is gone. There was nothing on the system to say the track had ever been on the board. She opened her own window, the one the computer couldn't reach back into, and the copy she'd pulled aside was still sitting there. She knew two things. It was real, and somebody wanted it to be gone. She worked on it in her own time after that, a little each shift, off the systems the building owned. She still had a login from a posting 3 assignments back that nobody had shut off, and the reach her real job gave her: police files and federal manifests. What she did not have was any way to look at the ground. Her chair watched the sky. For the ground it came from, she was going to need somebody who sat on the other side of the picture. She went slow. Nothing that would throw a flag of its own. It took her the better part of 3 weeks to backtrack the contact to a patch of ground, northwestern Montana, Teton County. That was as tight as a radar track would give her, a square area 100 miles wide, and the night it happened. The sky was her whole job. The ground was somebody else's. She had a friend from the old days, Vega, who had gone to the imagery side while she went under the mountain. She called him. "Buckley still got you reading pictures," she said. "6 years now. What do you need?" "Long shot," she said. "Northwest Montana, Teton County, back in February. One night." She gave him the square area and the date. "Anything cross a bird you had up that read strange and nobody ran down?" He was quiet a second. "You know I can't talk about what we collect." "I know. Figured I'd ask. Take care of yourself, Rachel." The line went dead. He called back 4 days later from a number she did not know. "You still drink coffee?" he said. "When I can get it." "Cart by the clock tower in Castle Rock. Saturday noon. Buy yourself one." A pause. "Come alone. Tell nobody." He hung up before she could answer. Saturday, she drove up in the cold. The cart sat by the clock tower with steam coming off it, and a short line of people in coats. She got in line and ordered a coffee. Vega stepped in behind her. She started to turn, and he spoke first, low, his eyes on the menu board. "Don't. Keep looking forward." She faced the cart. He ordered coffee and a hot dog and paid. "You need a napkin," he said. He reached past her, pulled one from the dispenser, and put it in her hand. "Here." There was a small, hard shape folded inside it. She closed her fingers around it, said thanks to the man running the cart, and put her hand and the napkin down into her coat pocket. Vega picked up his coffee and drank, and stood there a second, not looking at her. "You didn't get this from me," he said. "As a matter of fact, it doesn't exist." Then to the air, ordinary. "Have a good day." He took his lunch and walked away. At home, she opened her laptop and plugged in the drive. She started where she started every night, with the track. Her own contact. The information she had given Vega. Now she had the ground, too. The information she'd never been able to get to before. A clearing half a mile off a service road, shot from overhead the night of her contact. A circle burned into the dirt, 15 feet across. The ground inside it cooked and still giving off heat and the February snow all around. She went through the readings one at a time. Where the center should have read as solid ground, the numbers came two ways. Some gave nothing at all. No return, no lock. Like open air where the source had to be. The rest gave clean numbers that couldn't be true. A temperature the ground couldn't be. Empty or lying. Nothing in between. She sat with that and then worked out from the center to the edges, the way you read the whole board and not just the flag. Tree line, the service road. And on the road, pulled onto the shoulder, a truck. She zoomed until it filled the screen and broke into grain. A pickup, dark, nose toward the clearing, the driver's door shut. She went at the plate. She could zoom in on most of it. A stayed in 4 characters and the last 2 stayed blurred, no matter what she did to the image. 2 digits short of a name. The picture wouldn't give her the last of the plate. But a plate is a plate. And Teton County was something she could reach for her real job. She went out of the drive and into the county records to run what she had. The truck came back attached to a missing person case and half the file was blacked out. A wildlife officer named Rourke had found it. Keys in the ignition. Nobody near it. That was as far as the county would take her. Someone had been through the file ahead of her and pulled out everything that mattered. The full plate sat in the report. It closed her 4 characters into 6 and gave her the name. Bron Matthews. She ran the plates. A man out of Montana. An address a good drive from that clearing. Gone off that road the night her contact crossed her screen and not turned up since. Next of kin, a mother, Barbara, and a brother, Derek. A truck, a family, a date, and a man nobody ever found. That was as far as the county files would take her. Everything past the truck and the man was gone. Whole fields blacked out. Whole pages down to a header and a bar of black. Somebody had been through this file ahead of her and pulled out everything that mattered. She found, in a manifest she could reach but had no business reading, that a federal team had gone into that clearing inside 3 days. Not searchers. The gear on the list was seismic sensors, air samplers, and portable shielding. Nobody carries shielding to look for a lost man. You carry shielding when you already know what's in the area, and you don't want it in your blood. She put all of it on the one drive, her own work in Vegas. Then she pulled it out, sealed it in an envelope, and wrote her sister's name on the front. She took a second drive, blank, and put on it only what her own board had given her. The contact, the speed, the track, run back to a 100-mile square area in northwest Montana. Nothing off the satellite. A week after the card on his own time, Vega pulled the same coordinates again. The clearing came up clean. Trees, rock, snow, the service road. No circle, no burn, no heat. Ordinary ground like nothing had ever been on it. He sat looking at it. "What the hell?" he said, to nobody. Then he closed it out and decided not to call her back with the new information. He wasn't prepared to risk another meeting. She built it into the file one piece at a time. Then she took it to Reeves. She waited for the low hour. 2 in the morning. The floor down to a skeleton crew. The duty officer in the back with his paperwork. She called Reeves over with 2 words. "Sir, look." He crossed the floor without seeming to hurry and leaned down over her shoulder, and she walked him through it in order. She laid it out and never once told him what to make of it. Reeves went still. "Who else has seen this?" he said. "Just me. I brought it to you before I sent it anywhere." "Good." He straightened and reached inside his jacket, and what he brought out was not the phone she had watched him use for 3 years. This one was flat black. No logo. No port she could see. Go get yourself some coffee, Sergeant. Take your time. Sir, this could be... Coffee. That's an order. She stood and walked to the door without hurrying. At the door, she looked back. He had already turned his body away from the cameras, the phone up to his ear. She caught 3 words before the door sealed them off. Prometheus Protocol active. When she came back, the floor looked exactly as it did when she left for coffee. Reeves was at his own station and didn't look up. Her console was just as she'd left it. The only thing that changed in the whole room was the file she'd spent 3 weeks building. It wasn't deleted. It was moved. She sat down, checked her queue, and finished the shift. That was how it went. Something big happened in the middle of an ordinary night, and nobody in the room but her ever knew it had. A few days later, she mailed the sealed envelope to her sister in Flagstaff with a note that said, "Don't open this. Put it somewhere safe and forget you have it until I call and ask." Her sister called to ask what it was. "Nothing," she said. "Just hold on to it." Then she went back to work and she waited. Her brother came through town that week. He called from somewhere he wouldn't name and said he had a few days and would buy. She drove in after shift. The steakhouse sat off the county road, half the tables empty at that hour. Holt had the booth facing the door. He always did. "You're not eating," he said. "I ate before. Not hungry this late." She turned her water glass. He cut the steak into even pieces, all of them, before he ate any. "Do they feed you down there?" "There's a galley." 11 years. He said it like a number of a report. "Same chair." "Same chair," she said. "What do you do down there all day?" "Watch." "For what?" "Things that aren't supposed to be there." She turned the glass again. "That's all I can say." "Right." He set the knife down parallel to the fork. "You in town long?" she said. 3 days. "Then where?" "Can't say." "Are you seeing anybody?" "When?" he said. Not a question. There was a bandage across the knuckles of his left hand. She hadn't noticed him favor until now. He caught her looking at it and moved the hand to his lap. "Our sister called," he said. "The boy's got asthma now. Since spring. She's doing it alone, both of them, that apartment. I sent money." "She won't take it from me," she said. "She took it from me. Because there was no win in it. Call her." The check came. He had his card out before it touched the table. He'd be gone by morning, off to wherever they had him next. She'd be back in the chair under the mountain. She drove home with the radio off, and somewhere on the county road, it came to her, all at once, a man who went where he could not say, with a bag packed by the door and a hard black case she had never once seen open. His phone was a different number every time he called. He came home with his hands marked up and told no one where he'd been. The men who went out to the clearings lived exactly like that. Somebody went out to the ground they came from and made them never have happened. Took the readings, took the man, took all the relevant information, findings, and left the keys in the truck. She had been sitting across a table from one of them her whole life. It was one job with 2 halves. She found them and he cleaned them up. She was the one who caught them coming in, and he was the one they sent to make them disappear, and neither of them had ever known it. She could not tell him what she'd worked out, and he could not tell her where he'd been. 2 years went by. She was on shift in the morning when it broke. It came across the civilian feed first, in pieces, before anyone knew what it was. Something on the moon. Something on the far side. where no telescope on Earth could ever look, and it had been there a very long time. The pictures came off a restricted orbiter, a feed the public was never meant to see. Someone on the inside pulled the images and put them on the internet. By the time anyone moved to shut it down, they had been copied and reposted 1,000 times over, and there was no getting them back. Official statements were being drafted, and they were already 3 versions behind. The floor went quiet. Phones came out under the desks. The duty officer was on the line twice in an hour. Reeves left the floor and came back, and within minutes left again. Rachel watched her screens. She cleared 2 ghosts in the first hour without keying the radio, and worked in her queue the same as any morning, because the work didn't stop regardless of what was going on. That's how the work was. But she watched the people managing it, the ones with the practiced calm, and she knew that calm. Somebody had been ready for this, not the day, not the scale, but the fact that it was out there at all. She'd been ready for 2 years. She drove home in the October light with the mountains sharp against the sky, and sat in the car a short while. The people on the radio sang unprecedented and historic, the words people reach for when they don't know what else to say. Then she got out her phone and called her sister. "The envelope," she said. "Open it. Read the top page. Look at the date." Paper tearing. A pause. "This is from 2 years ago," her sister said. "Yes." "How did you know?" Rachel looked at the mountains she'd driven past every day for 11 years. "I was paying attention," she said. "Keep it safe. Someday somebody's going to want to know who the woman was, the one who worked at NORAD that saw it first." In the weeks after, the operation came looking for the analyst who'd found it. Nobody put it in writing. She heard it in a hallway from someone who wasn't supposed to tell her, just a few weeks before any order with her name on it existed. For 11 years, she'd trained the ones who got to go up the tunnel and stayed in the chair herself. Now, somebody wanted to send her up. Reeves set an unmarked folder on her desk and waited until she looked up. "You've tracked this longer than anyone. They want you in the field, out from under the mountain." She was on her feet before she knew it. "Where?" "Far north." He picked the folder back up. "I'll take that as a yes. Pack for cold. Wheels up tonight." She cleared her station in 4 minutes, 11 years, and it came down to a spare shirt, a mug, a paperback she'd never opened, and a photograph of her sister's kids she'd kept in the drawer for 3 years and never put up. She left the mug in the rack. She took the photograph and put it in her inside pocket against her chest. Out of everything under that mountain, it was the one thing she carried out that meant something to her. The transport was gray and had no windows, and the hold went red when the ramp came up. They gave her a folder she could read half of. The site was in Siberia, a crater under the permafrost, its floor warmer than the ground around it. The electronic signature laid over all of it. She'd taught herself to read it at her kitchen table, alone. People she'd never met had been doing the same, in a room she wasn't cleared for. She was going out to stand on the ground her brother was sent to empty. Now she would stand in front of one of these things herself, instead of watching it come and go as a mark on a screen. She and Holt would never talk about any of it. They never had. She read until there was nothing left. She was cleared to read. Then she set the folder on her knees and looked at the red light on the bulkhead. For 11 years she'd sat at that desk, caught these things at the far edge of her screen, and then logged them and let them go. She'd gotten good at letting them go. She closed her eyes. She did not sleep. The plane carried her toward the cold. The end. 03 47 is a short story set in the world of the Sentinel of Crater Daedalus, Book 1 of the Sentinel trilogy. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, it's part of a much bigger universe. 3 novels, more short stories on the way, and a podcast called Everyone Knows, where I break down what's really going on in the world. You can find all of it at brianbullochwriter.com. I'm Brian Bullock, and this is Starborne Studios.